His name was Marcus Williams. He was 41 years old, and after 15 years of grueling offshore oil rig rotations in the North Sea, he had finally saved enough to retire early and come home for good. The Uber pulled up to the brick Cape Cod house on Elmwood Terrace, the house he'd purchased with his signing bonus 12 years ago, and Marcus felt his throat tighten with emotion. He'd wanted to surprise Diane. No warning, no phone call, just show up with his duffel bag and that crooked smile she used to say made her knees weak. They'd video chatted religiously for the first 7 years, but the calls had become sporadic lately. She'd said the time difference was hard with her nursing shifts. He'd believed her. The January afternoon was gray and cold, typical Seattle weather that made people drink too much coffee. Marcus paid the driver $67 from the airport and stood on the sidewalk for a moment, just looking at his house. Their house. The yard was pristine, better than when he'd left. New stone walkway. The shutters had been replaced with expensive-looking cedar ones. A luxury SUV sat in the driveway, a black Range Rover with temporary plates. The front door was unlocked. That should have been his first warning. Marcus pushed it open, dragging his duffel across the threshold, ready to call out, "Baby, I'm home," like some character in a romantic comedy. But the words caught in his throat. The living room he'd furnished before leaving, the sectional they'd picked out together at Ashley Furniture, the coffee table from Target, the bookshelf crammed with Diane's nursing textbooks and his fantasy novels, was completely gone. In its place stood furniture that belonged in an interior design magazine. A white Italian leather sofa that probably cost more than his monthly salary on the rig. A glass coffee table with a bronze sculpture as a centerpiece. Contemporary art in minimalist frames. The walls had been repainted from warm beige to slate gray. Even the carpet had been ripped out and replaced with wide plank hardwood that screamed money. His confusion lasted exactly 4 seconds before he heard it. Laughter from upstairs. Diane's laughter, that bright, infectious laugh that had made him propose after only 6 months of dating. And another voice. Not a man's voice. A woman's voice, low and intimate, saying something that made Diane giggle in that way she used to giggle with him. Marcus's legs moved automatically up the stairs. Each step felt like walking through quicksand. Down the hallway, past the guest room they'd talked about converting into a nursery someday. Past the bathroom where Diane used to leave lipstick marks on the mirror with silly messages. To the master bedroom door, which stood slightly ajar. What he saw through that gap would replay in his mind for months, maybe years. Diane, his wife of 17 years, wrapped in silk sheets he'd never bought her. Expensive sheets with that kind of thread count you see in luxury hotel ads. Her head resting on the shoulder of a woman who looked like she'd stepped out of a perfume commercial. Tall, probably 5'10", with short platinum blonde hair styled in an edgy pixie cut. She wore a men's Rolex that caught the gray afternoon light, and even from the doorway, Marcus could see the designer label on the shirt draped over the chair. Marcus. Diane's voice shattered like dropped crystal. She shot upright in bed, clutching the sheet to her chest, her face draining of all color. The woman beside her sat up slowly, casually, like she had all the time in the world. Like this was her house. Like Marcus was the intruder. The woman had the audacity to look annoyed at the interruption, her jaw setting as she assessed Marcus with cool, calculating blue eyes. "Who the hell are you?" the woman asked, looking at Diane instead of Marcus. Her voice carried the kind of confidence that came from never hearing the word no, never facing real consequences. "I'm her husband," Marcus said. His voice sounded strange to his own ears, flat, dead, like someone else was speaking through his mouth. "And you're in my house." The woman laughed. Actually laughed. It was a short, dismissive sound that made Marcus's hands curl into fists. "Your house? Diane, what's he talking about?" Diane's eyes darted between them, her mouth opening and closing. Her hair was different than he remembered, longer, highlighted with expensive-looking balayage. She was wearing makeup, even though it was smudged now. Even though they were in bed in the middle of the afternoon on a Thursday. Finally, she found words. "Marcus, you weren't supposed to. I didn't think you were coming back." "Coming back?" Marcus repeated, his brain struggling to process the words. "I've been working on oil rigs for 15 years to build us a future. Every paycheck, Diane. Every bonus. I sent money home for us, for this house, for the life we were supposed to have when I finished my contract." "That was years ago," she said, her voice gaining strength, defensiveness creeping in like armor. You stopped calling regularly. The video chats became once a month, then every 2 months. I thought you'd found someone else out there. I thought you'd moved on and were just too much of a coward to tell me. I was saving for this. Marcus pulled out his phone, hands shaking so badly he almost dropped it, and showed her his banking app. The number at the top read $480,000. I've been living in a 6x8 bunk room, eating from the rig cafeteria for every meal, working 12-hour shifts for weeks at a time in freezing conditions so we could retire at 45. So you'd never have to work another night shift. So we could have everything we dreamed about. The woman in his bed got up and started pulling on designer jeans that probably cost more than Marcus's entire wardrobe. Dark denim with deliberate distressing, paired with a cashmere sweater. Look man, I don't know what kind of arrangement you two had. Arrangement? Marcus turned to her, really looking at her for the first time. Late 30s, maybe. Athletic build, the kind that came from personal trainers and Pilates studios. That tan that came from ski trips and beach vacations, not from labor. A gold necklace with a pendant that looked like a diamond. I'm married to her. I bought this house. What arrangement do you think we had? Marcus, please. Diane was out of bed now, wrapping herself in a silk robe that Marcus had definitely never seen before. Champagne-colored, hitting mid-thigh, with delicate lace trim. Let me explain. This is Reagan. She's been helping me when you stopped being present. When I was alone in this house month after month, year after year. I needed someone. The house is only 12 years old, Marcus interrupted, his engineering mind latching onto concrete facts because emotions were too overwhelming. What help could you possibly have needed? I had it professionally inspected before I left. Everything was up to code. Everything was new. Reagan stepped forward, and Marcus noticed she was taller than him, broader in the shoulders, the kind of woman who probably played college basketball and still worked out daily. I think you need to calm down and let Diane speak. Let Diane speak. Marcus felt something cold settle in his chest, spreading through his veins like ice water. Diane is my wife, and you need to get the hell out of my house. Actually, Reagan said, pulling a business card from her jeans pocket with the smooth confidence of someone who did this regularly, I'm an attorney. Reagan Hartwell & Stone, family law specialist. And I think you'll find the situation is more complicated than you realize. She held out the card. Marcus didn't take it. He just stared at it, at the embossed lettering, at the downtown Seattle address that suggested a very successful practice. Of course she was an attorney. Of course. Marcus stared at the business card still extended toward him. What situation? This is my house. I have the deed. I have the mortgage statements. Everything is in my name. I bought this property in 2012 with money from my offshore contract. My name is on every document. Diane was getting dressed now, her movements jerky, panicked. She pulled on yoga pants, expensive Lululemon ones he noticed, and a fitted top he'd never seen before. Her entire wardrobe seemed to have been replaced. Marcus, you need to understand, Diane said, her voice trembling. When you stopped responding to my messages consistently, when the calls became sporadic, when you'd video chat for 20 minutes and then say you had to get back to the rig, I thought our marriage was over. I thought you'd moved on. I thought I was just the wife you'd left behind and forgotten about. So you moved another woman into our home? Marcus's voice was rising now, the shock wearing off, replaced by a hot rage he'd never felt before. His face felt flushed. His hands were trembling. How long, Diane? How long has this been going on? She didn't answer. She was crying now, silent tears running down her face, mascara creating dark tracks. But she didn't answer. Reagan did. 4 years. Diane and I have been together for 4 years. And during that time, I've invested considerably in this property and in Diane's well-being. I've paid for the kitchen renovation, that was $42,000. I've paid for both bathroom remodels, another $28,000. I've paid for the flooring, the exterior work, the landscaping. I bought her that car in the driveway. I've supported her emotionally and financially while you were off building your little nest egg in the North Sea. Her car. Marcus pushed past them to the window, his heart hammering. In the driveway sat the black Range Rover he'd seen earlier, gleaming like it had just rolled off the showroom floor. Next to it was a silver Audi sedan that undoubtedly belonged to Reagan. His old Ford F-150, the reliable 2010 model he bought used and left for Diane, was nowhere to be seen. "Where's the truck?" "I sold that piece of junk 3 years ago," Diane said quietly, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. It was falling apart. The transmission was going. It had 180,000 miles on it. "Reagan bought me the Range Rover." "You sold my truck." Marcus turned slowly. "You sold my truck without asking me." "It was in my name," she said defensively. "You put it in my name before you left, remember? So I could handle the registration and insurance while you were gone." She was right. He had done that. He remembered standing at the DMV, signing the title over to her, thinking he was making her life easier, thinking he was being a good husband. That truck was paid off. It was reliable. It had years left in it. "It was embarrassing," Diane shot back, her own anger flaring. "I'm a cardiac nurse at Swedish Medical Center. I had to park that beat-up truck in the staff lot next to doctors' Mercedes and BMWs. Do you know what that felt like? Do you know how many times colleagues made comments? So you sold it and got a $90,000 Range Rover." "87,000, Reagan corrected. "And it's a lease, not a purchase. Much more tax efficient." Marcus ignored her. "Diane, I was working. I was working so you wouldn't have to worry about cars or money or anything. I was building our future. A future you never included me in." Diane shot back, her face flushed, her voice rising to match his. "You made all these plans without asking me if I wanted you gone for 15 years. Without asking if I wanted to put my life on hold. You just decided, Marcus. You took that contract and said it was for 5 years, and then it became 8, and then 10, and then 15, and I was supposed to just wait. Just freeze my life while you chased your career halfway around the world." There was truth in that. Marcus felt it hit him like a physical blow, right in the center of his chest. He had made those decisions. The contract had started as 5 years. Then his company had offered him a senior technician position if he stayed 3 more years. Then there was a major deep water project that needed his expertise. Then another promotion. And yes, he'd told Diane about each extension. But had he really asked her? Had he given her a choice? Or had he just presented it as a done deal, a decision already made? "Diane," Reagan said, putting a hand on her shoulder in a gesture that was clearly familiar, protective, "you don't have to explain yourself to him. You don't owe him anything." "Don't touch her," Marcus said, his voice low and dangerous. Reagan's hand stayed exactly where it was. Her eyes met Marcus's with a challenge in them. "Or what? You'll do what, exactly? Call the police? Tell them you abandoned your wife for 15 years and now you're angry she moved on? Tell them you're trespassing in a house that's no longer solely yours?" "I didn't abandon anyone. We were married. We were committed. I was working for us." "Were is the operative word," Reagan interrupted smoothly. "Past tense. Diane filed for divorce 18 months ago, in July of last year. The divorce was finalized 10 months ago, Marcus. In March. We're not married anymore. We haven't been married for almost a year." The room tilted. The floor seemed to drop out from under Marcus's feet. "What?" Diane wouldn't meet his eyes. She was looking at the floor, at her hands, anywhere but at him. "I sent the papers to your company address. I sent them certified mail, signature required. I got confirmation they were delivered. You never responded. You never contested it. You never called, never emailed, nothing. The divorce was finalized in your absence." Marcus pulled out his phone again, his fingers fumbling with the screen. He opened his email app, went to his work account, scrolled through his spam folder. There, buried among hundreds of automated notifications and filtered messages, was an email from Hartwell and Stone Law Firm. The subject line read, "Final Divorce Decree Williams vs. Williams. Case #FL 2023-94562. The date stamp was from March 28th of this year. 10 months ago. Just like she'd said. He opened it. There was a PDF attachment. He clicked it with trembling fingers. The document was official. Court seal. Judge's signature. Everything. Dissolution of marriage. Petitioner, Diane Marie Williams. Respondent, Marcus David Williams. Grounds, irreconcilable differences and constructive abandonment. Default judgment entered due to respondent's failure to respond. I never saw this, he whispered, his voice barely audible. I never. Why would you send it to my work email? You know I barely check that. All our communication was through my personal email. I sent it to both, Diane said, and now she was looking at him, her eyes red but defiant. I sent it to your personal email, your work email. I sent physical copies to your company's Houston office and to the forwarding address you gave me for the rig. I tried for months, Marcus. I sent multiple notices. I tried reaching you on Facebook, on Instagram, on every platform we'd ever used. You never responded to any of it. Not once. And then I gave up. I thought maybe you wanted the divorce too. Maybe you'd found someone out there and this was your way of letting me go without having to say the words. Marcus scrolled frantically through his personal email now. There they were. Emails from Hartwell and Stone. Emails from Diane. Emails with subject lines like urgent, legal documents and divorce proceedings, response required, and final notice. All of them marked as spam by his email filter. All of them unread. He clicked on one dated 16 months ago. One of the first. It was from Diane's personal email address. Marcus, I can't do this anymore. I can't be married to someone who's never here. I can't keep waiting for a life that's never going to happen. I'm filing for divorce. You'll receive the official papers from my attorney. Please read them. Please respond. Even if you hate me, even if you think I'm making a mistake, please just respond so we can handle this properly. I'm sorry it came to this. I really am. Diane. Marcus remembered that time period. July of last year. He'd been in the middle of a critical shutdown maintenance cycle, working 16-hour days, barely sleeping. His company had upgraded their email system around then, and the new spam filters had been aggressive, catching everything that wasn't directly work-related. He'd complained about it to IT, said he'd deal with it later. But later had never come. This is a mistake, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. I never got these emails. I never agreed to a divorce. The marriage is still valid. It has to be. It's not, Reagan said, and there was something in her voice now that almost sounded like pity. Washington state allows for default divorce when one party doesn't respond. Diane followed all the legal requirements. She sent notice to multiple addresses, both physical and electronic. She waited the required time period. She published notice in the Seattle Times as required by law when direct contact fails. She did everything by the book. The court granted the divorce in absentia, in your absence. It's final, Marcus. It's been final for 10 months. In absentia, Marcus repeated numbly. The Latin phrase felt heavy on his tongue. Like I'm dead. Like you were absent, Reagan corrected, which you were. For 15 years, you were absent from your wife's life. The court recognized that reality and acted accordingly. You're telling me I flew home to my wife, to my house, and I don't have either anymore? Marcus's voice was rising again, cracking. You're telling me I spent 15 years working myself to exhaustion, living like a prisoner, saving every penny, and it's all for nothing? The house is a different matter, Reagan said, and now her tone shifted, becoming more businesslike, more professional. Under Washington state community property law, Diane is entitled to 50% of all marital assets accumulated during the marriage. That includes this house, which was purchased in 2012 during your marriage. It doesn't matter whose name is on the deed or who made the mortgage payments. Community property means it belongs to both of you equally. With money I earned. With money earned during the marriage, which makes it community property under Washington law, Reagan said patiently, like she was explaining something to a child. I've been advising Diane on this matter. The house was appraised last month at $625,000. That's current market value based on the improvements made and the neighborhood appreciation. Diane's share is $312,500. My suggestion is that you buy her out for that amount, or sell the property and split the proceeds. Those are your two options. Marcus felt like he was drowning, like the walls were closing in. $312,500. I'd have to give her $312,500 for a house I bought with my own money. A house I've been paying the mortgage on for 12 years. Community property, Reagan said again, like it was a magic phrase that explained everything. And before you get any ideas about fighting this in court, you should know that Diane has documented everything. Every month you were gone. Every missed birthday. Every holiday she spent alone. Every anniversary that passed without you even sending a card. Every email you didn't respond to. Any judge will see a clear case of abandonment and failure to maintain the marital relationship. You'll lose, Marcus. You'll spend tens of thousands on legal fees, and you'll still lose. He's right, Diane said softly. I kept records, Marcus. I had to, for my own protection. I have text messages showing I tried to reach you. I have call logs. I have photos of me alone at Christmas, alone on my birthday, alone at my mother's funeral. Do you remember that? 3 years ago, my mother died, and you couldn't even fly home for the service. You said you couldn't get off the rig. Marcus remembered. The funeral had conflicted with a critical phase of a deep water drilling operation. He'd sent flowers. He'd called Diane and talked to her for 2 hours. He'd thought that was enough. Looking at her face now, he realized it hadn't been anywhere close to enough. I'm sorry about your mother, he said quietly. I should have been there. Yes, Diane said, tears streaming down her face again. You should have. But you weren't. You were never there, Marcus. And eventually, I had to accept that you were never going to be there. That's why I filed for divorce. That's why I moved on, because I couldn't spend the rest of my life waiting for someone who was never coming home. They had no idea what was coming. Neither Diane nor her attorney girlfriend understood that Marcus hadn't spent 15 years just working. He'd spent 15 years learning how contracts worked, how to spot discrepancies, how to read fine print. Learning maritime law because he'd helped his company navigate international labor disputes. Learning patience, strategy, and how to identify people's weaknesses and exploit them without them ever seeing it coming. And right now, standing in his bedroom that wasn't legally his bedroom anymore, watching his ex-wife and her attorney lover look at him like they'd won some kind of game, Marcus made a decision. He wasn't going to rage. He wasn't going to break things or make threats or do anything that could be used against him in court. He was going to do something much, much worse. He was going to outthink them. Okay, Marcus said calmly. Too calmly. Diane's eyes narrowed. She knew that tone. She'd heard it once before years ago, when her brother had tried to borrow $15,000 for a business opportunity that turned out to be a pyramid scheme. Marcus had smiled, agreed to consider it, and then produced research proving the whole thing was fraud. The brother had never asked for money again. You're right, Marcus continued. I should have responded to the divorce papers. I should have been more present. That's on me. Reagan blinked, clearly surprised. She'd expected more fight. So you'll agree to the buyout terms? I need time to think, Marcus said carefully, and I need to see all the documentation. The divorce decree, the property appraisal, all the financial records. I want to make sure everything was done properly, according to the law. I'm sure you understand. Of course, Reagan said, but there was suspicion in her voice now. She wasn't stupid. She could sense something had shifted. Everything was handled through proper legal channels. I'll have my office send you copies of all relevant documents. I'd appreciate that. Marcus picked up his duffel bag. Diane, I'll get a hotel for tonight. I need some time to process all this. I'll have my attorney contact you about next steps. You have an attorney? Diane asked, surprise evident in her voice. I will by tomorrow, Marcus said. This is a legal matter now. It requires legal representation. He headed for the door, then paused at the threshold. One more question. One small detail that's nagging at me. The mortgage. I've been paying it automatically from my offshore account this whole time. $2,200 a month. Who's been getting that money? Diane and Reagan exchanged a look. It was quick, barely a second, but Marcus caught it. A guilty look. A look that said they knew something he didn't, and they weren't sure whether to tell him. The mortgage was paid off 3 years ago, Diane said slowly, reluctantly. In January of 2022. Reagan paid the remaining balance as a gift to me. Marcus's mind started calculating. January 2022. 3 years ago. But he'd been paying $2,200 a month since then. 36 months. That was $79,200. $79,200, he said out loud. I've paid $79,200 into an account for a mortgage that doesn't exist anymore. The payments kept coming, Diane said quickly. I didn't know they would keep coming. The bank account stayed open, and the transfers just kept happening automatically. I thought maybe it was some kind of escrow account or... Where's the money, Diane? Marcus interrupted. His voice was still calm, but there was steel underneath now. Where did $79,200 of my money go? Another exchanged look. Reagan cleared her throat. Diane, you don't have to answer that right now. We should speak with our attorney first. Our attorney? Marcus said. I thought you were her attorney. I'm advising her in a personal capacity, Reagan said stiffly. Any official legal matters would be handled by my firm, not by me directly. To avoid conflicts of interest. Because you're sleeping with the client, Marcus finished. Right. That makes perfect sense. Very ethical. He walked out before either of them could respond. That night, in a Holiday Inn near the airport, Marcus made 3 phone calls. The first was to his former rig supervisor, Tom Chun, who'd gone to law school after retiring from offshore work. Tom gave him a name, Patricia Okoye, a property law specialist in Seattle who'd built her career on exposing attorney misconduct. The second call was to the fraud investigation unit at his bank in Houston. He reported the unauthorized deposits into Diane's account and requested a full audit of where the money had gone. The third call was to an old friend from his first year on the rigs, a guy named Dev Prasad who now worked in IT security. I need someone to pull email metadata, Marcus said. Can you help? You think someone backdated emails? Dev asked. I think I want to know for sure. Within 3 days, Marcus had his answers. The email metadata showed that all the divorce notification emails had been created on the same day, June 15th of last year, but sent out over several weeks with timestamps that made them look like they'd been sent on different dates. The metadata didn't lie. Someone had deliberately created a fake paper trail. The bank audit revealed that the mortgage payments had been automatically transferred into a joint account controlled by both Diane and Reagan. From there, the money had been used for everything from vacations to home improvements to luxury purchases. And Patricia Okoye, after reviewing all the documentation, smiled like a shark that had just smelled blood. This is fraud, she said simply. This is embezzlement. This is attorney misconduct on a level I rarely see. Reagan Hartwell advised her client, who was also her romantic partner, to continue accepting payments she knew were based on a paid-off mortgage. That's not just unethical. That's criminal. The emergency hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks later. Judge Michael Torres presiding. Patricia laid out the case methodically, the backdated emails, the continued mortgage payments, the commingling of funds, Reagan's conflict of interest in representing a romantic partner while also benefiting financially from the divorce settlement. Your Honor, Patricia said, this isn't just a case of a divorce gone wrong. This is a deliberate scheme to defraud Mr. Williams of his assets while he was working overseas. The evidence is overwhelming. Judge Torres studied the documents for a full 5 minutes. Then he looked up at Reagan, his expression cold. Ms. Hartwell, you're an officer of this court. You took an oath. And you violated that oath in ways that frankly disgust me. The divorce decree is hereby vacated due to fraud. All assets are frozen. Ms. Williams, you are ordered to vacate the property within 48 hours. And Ms. Hartwell, I'm referring this matter to the Washington State Bar Association for immediate disciplinary proceedings. Reagan went pale. Diane started crying. But Marcus didn't feel triumphant. He felt empty. 6 months later, Marcus sat in the house that was fully his again. Diane had repaid $40,000 of what she owed, working out a payment plan for the rest. Reagan had been suspended from practicing law and was facing criminal charges. Marcus had won. But the victory felt hollow. He'd learned the hard way that presence matters more than provision. That love requires more than money and good intentions. That you can't spend 15 years absent and expect everything to stay the same. Would he do things differently? Yes. He would have come home more. He would have prioritized his marriage over his career. He would have realized that no amount of money could replace just being there. But he couldn't go back. None of us can. We can only move forward with the wisdom we've gained. Marcus had lost his wife. But he'd gained something too: self-respect, justice, and the knowledge that he could survive betrayal and come out whole. That, he decided, was worth something. Maybe even everything.